Welcome to Brian's Table, a food, wellness, and lifestyle channel. I'm Brian Singh. Today we're going to be making jerk chicken. Well, not exclusively today. It's a 2-day process. We're going to make 2 chickens. Reason why? It's lovely to have jerk chicken around. Further, a marinated jerk chicken freezes beautifully, so you can enjoy the same meal at another time. The other thing about jerk chicken, it's a wonderful thing to strip down and enjoy in sandwiches or add to salads, so it's a multitasker. On top of that, I get to pay a homage to my Caribbean heritage. I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago, but jerk chicken is from Jamaica originally. My parents moved to Jamaica in 1957, and my sisters were born there. So I get to claim a little bit of that in terms of my cooking repertoire. It's a bit of an effort, but it's well worth it. Let's go to the kitchen. The first step in making jerk chicken, Brian style, is to brine the chicken. And that's not brining, it's brining, B-R-I-N-I-N-G. A brine is basically water, salt, and sometimes sugar. I like adding sugar because it adds a nice roundness, a better flavor to my chicken. First step, get your scale out. The reason why we get the scale out is that we have to weigh the salt, because different salts have different weights by the same volume. And to make sure your brine is made properly, you gotta have the right amount of salt, and because it's a ratio, you also have to have the right weight of sugar. Typically, I use a 2-to-1 ratio of salt to sugar. This thing, 1 liter of water. And by definition, 1 liter of water weighs 1 kilogram. Close enough. For 1 liter of water, we need 60 grams of salt, because the ratio for brining is typically for every cup of water, we add 1 tablespoon of kosher salt. Gonna add the sugar. We need 30 grams because of the 2-to-1 ratio to the salt. I'm using brown sugar because I find it adds a nice little flavor that enhances the Caribbean-ness of this dish. Once done, mix her up. Let's get to the star of the show, the chicken. I like picking up 3.5 to 4 pound chickens. It's always funny. Here in Canada, we always flip between metric and imperial like that. But what I do is I order my chickens from my butcher, and he spatchcocks them for me. Spatchcocking is just cutting out the spine and allows you to lay the chicken flat so it cooks evenly. With the backbone I keep so I can make stock. Nothing goes to waste. And remember, after you handle raw chicken, wash your hands and wash your cutting board. No need to have a salmonella risk in the kitchen. Pour the brine in, making sure that the chicken is completely covered. Hey, perfect measurement. Seal up your container and stick it in the fridge. Jerk is a form of barbecue. And like most barbecue, it is traditionally a rub. In this case, because we are working with ingredients that are readily available from our local supermarkets, it's going to be more of a paste. Jerk seasoning is an imprecise art. It is based on feel and smell and flavor. The inspiration for this recipe comes from a number of sources. I triangulated a number of them from a host of Caribbean cooks. But the base recipe I use is from Jeff Smith's The Frugal Gourmet on Our Immigrant Ancestors, a book that I've held on for a long time. Jeff Smith is quite a controversial character, but he did put his heart and soul into this book, working with a lot of immigrant families to get the essence of their dishes and to make sure that you could reproduce them quite easily with simple supermarket ingredients and simple techniques. Let's go through the ingredients. So one of the core elements of a jerk seasoning is chili peppers. Typically, jerk seasoning has habanero peppers. Habanero peppers you can get at specialty stores such as Caribbean markets, as well as in the farmers markets. They're readily available in the summer. But what is most readily available in the supermarket are jalapeno peppers. To add the right amount of heat, as well as the fruitiness that is associated with habaneros, I supplement by putting in a couple of bird's eye whole chilies, and those get ground down to actually add that habanero-like flavor. Other ingredients include black pepper, bit of peanut oil, ginger, green onions. In the Caribbean, they call those scallions. And then a host of warm spices, which include nutmeg, allspice, if you have the opportunity. Toast your own allspice berries and grind them yourself. And in this recipe, I'm using Vietnamese cinnamon. Traditional cinnamon is used for baking, but when you want to use savory dishes, the Vietnamese cinnamon adds an extra lift and a bit of heat. Some bay leaves, a bit of salt, and last but not least, a bit of garlic. For this dish, I'm going to take out the seeds out of half of the jalapenos. I know I'm using my bare hands. I'm going to wash them after. Make sure when you are working with hot peppers, you don't touch your eyes or your sensitive parts. Not a good idea. A little goes a long way with those. That's 9 tablespoons of allspice. We're doubling the recipe, remember. That was 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. 1 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. 2 teaspoons of salt. Terrible. Again, this is one of my favorite items. I've included a link below where you can pick these up, but these are indispensable to me in the kitchen. For this, you need 1 teaspoon of pepper. And there we have all our warm and aromatic spices. Bringing the jerk seasoning together can never be easier. All you need to do is put it in the food processor. Let's start with the peppers. I know it seems like a lot of peppers, but when it marinates with the chicken, it mellows out beautifully. And it's spicy without being too hot. Let's get the garlic, ginger, lots of scallions, bay leaves, all of our spices, and that ton of allspice. And the last thing that we do is 4 tablespoons of peanut oil. Any neutral oil will work. I often use sunflower oil or even canola oil, but peanut oil seems to balance things out quite nicely. At this point, if you got young children or people who are very sensitive to heat, send them out of the room, because a lot of the capsicum is going to be released and it'll be going into the air, and they could burn your eyes. If you can't do this outside and use a mortar and pestle, that's another option that's open to you. In between, once it's all been pulverized, give it a scrape down and give it a few more pulses. And make sure everything gets fully combined. This seasoning is great to have on hand. One of the wonderful things about this seasoning, it keeps well in the fridge. So put it in a jar, a little bit of oil on top, and have it ready for any time you want to make jerk. I also love using a food processor because it's easy to throw it in the dishwasher, and it's just another thing that makes this recipe super easy. We have our chicken drained after it's been brined. One thing I love to do with my jerk chicken is I like to put a little bit under the skin. That way it really does penetrate the chicken. Make sure you lift up the skin, get your fingers in there, loosen up the skin. What this would do, it creates an ultra crispy chicken skin and adds a lovely mouthfeel to the chicken when you eat it. But it also makes the chicken easier to carve up. Stick a little bit on that side. And let's get a little on this side. Great. And let's push that all around. Again, careful with washing your hands after, because you don't want to touch any sensitive points on your body after this. Yeah, I got that all in there. Delicious. Make sure that you get a little bit on the inside of the carcass of the animal. Really spread that around. Let's flip her over. Get it on the outside. Beautiful. Let's get a little bit on the wings. Make sure they get some of that jerk seasoning love. And when done, get it all together. To get the chicken in the marinating bag takes a little bit of work. I recommend that you wash your hands first. Get a mixing bowl and put your bag in there. Now get your chicken. Place it right on there, and that way you can grab the inside of the bag. Keep the seal nice and clean. Get the last bit of the seasoning on it. Yeah. Rinse your hands again, and let's seal her up and stick it in the fridge. And as I said, we've doubled the recipe. Take the time to do another chicken, marinate it, stick it in the freezer, and it's ready when you are. The jerk chicken on the barbecue. What I like to do is about an hour before I'm ready to cook it, I like to take my chicken out of the fridge and put it on the counter and let it come up to room temperature. Happy chickens. After marinating in the fridge overnight, we've left the chickens out, brought them to room temperature. I like to put them out on a cutting board and take them to the grill from here. My grill is ripping hot, so I'm just going to clean it off. And always oil your grill. I use a paper towel with sunflower oil and a set of tongs. Oh yeah. That's exactly why you start ripping hot, because by the time you open the grill and all that, it's going to drop down to 500, which is really quite close to where the chicken needs to be cooked. I start with the skin side down. Move that one back. At this point, we turn off the burners underneath, or let's turn it right down to low. And that way, it forms a nice circulation in there that will char the chicken and cook it nicely. That's almost done. We need to cook these to 160 degrees Fahrenheit or about 72, 73 degrees Celsius. And then we take them out, put them on a cutting board, tent them, and they'll come up to temperature and be fully cooked. Okay, we're there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Great. Tender with foil. Let's give it a few minutes and let the meat come up to temperature and let it rest, and then we'll get serving this delicious meal. Let's check the chicken. Ooh. Maybe I could have done a better job of putting it on the cutting board, but this baby is done. One of the things, because I reached under the skin to try to separate the skin from the meat, it started to loosen up the joints, and because of the brining to keep the chicken moist, some of it started to fall apart, which is great because that means it's cooked and it's going to be tender and juicy. See how nice that falls apart? There you go. I'll slice this guy open. Beautiful. All the way through. Let's get some plates. And there you have it. One of my favorite meals. Jerk chicken with coleslaw and rice and peas. Let's dig in. Oh yeah, put that there. You gonna come around and taste it, Trent?
Oh yeah.
Oh, let's give this a go. All right, I'm gonna taste the rice first.
Well, I'll do the same then.
That's lovely, nice and fluffy. Each grain separate. Got a little bit of the coleslaw. That works really well with the rice, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm kind of speechless, so this is this is too good for words.
Okay, let's give the chicken a try.
I'm trying a piece of the breast meat just to see how well the brine marinade worked for keeping it nice and moist and tender. Oh my God.
Oh, good.
That breast meat is as moist and tender as any of the dark could have ever had.
Fantastic. So, with a little bit of Caribbean love, and from my heart to you, I hope you give this a try. take a look at all 3 videos and hopefully you're able to assemble the same meal. So, what is your favorite go-to chicken dish? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you're liking what you're seeing, please hit the like button and subscribe. And in the meantime, keep maximizing life's small pleasures.
That's a little high five.
There you go. Okay. Don't show how disorganized my fridge is. Please. No need to abuse me like that, Trent. That looks like shit, doesn't it? That's not very appetizing, is it? What the fuck's going on here?